Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Echo45 Advisors Market and Economic Update. In this video, we'll discuss the future of the Federal Reserve and why its direction matters for long-term investors. One major event in 2026 will be that Jerome Powell's term as Fed chair ends in May. The White House has been interviewing candidates for the next Fed chair, which could reshape the central bank's leadership and direction. In addition, while headlines often focus on the Fed's next interest rate decision, much of the debate on both Wall Street and in Washington is around what the Fed's role should be. For long-term investors, understanding these topics matter because they shape not just near-term policy decisions, but the future of the Fed itself. Let's explore what context investors need as the Fed headlines dominate the news in the coming months. While it may feel as if the Fed has always been an important part of policymaking, the reality is that the modern Fed wasn't established until 1913. The Fed is not a branch of the federal government, nor was it created by the Constitution. When Congress first established the Fed, its primary mission was to prevent bank panics. While economic and financial challenges have not gone away, these particular types of crises are less common today. The Fed is tasked with ensuring that banks have enough capital reserves and serves as their lender of last resort. Over the decades, however, the Fed's responsibilities have grown. The Federal Reserve Reform Act of 1977 directed the central bank to promote maximum employment, stable prices, and moderate long-term interest rates. The Fed typically focuses on the first two as its, quote, dual mandate. This evolution is often described as mission creep, since the Fed is now seen as managing not only financial banks and financial transactions, but the economy as a whole. Right or wrong, this is why so much attention is placed on each of the FOMC interest rate decisions. This chart shows that the Fed has experienced many leadership changes, including appointments by both political parties. Despite this, the economy has grown steadily over history. Why is the Federal Reserve and its policies often a source of controversy? Well, the Fed officials are appointed by the president and approved by Congress, but are not directly elected by voters. Critics argue that the Fed amounts to an unelected body with enormous economic power. Proponents argue that the Fed must often make unpopular decisions, including ones that may slow the economy in the short run to preserve growth in the long run. Of course, the Fed does not have a crystal ball, and it is not always correct in its assessments. This chart shows the unemployment rate and inflation over history, the Fed's two mandates from the 1977 Act. These two indicators are hard to forecast and have driven policy uncertainty over history. Even if the Fed had perfect foresight, its policy tools are limited. The Fed directly controls only short-term interest rates through the federal funds rate. So while the Fed is often viewed as controlling the economy and financial system, it is often influencing markets or reacting to the events rather than driving them. With Fed Chair Jerome Powell's term ending soon, the White House is expected to name a replacement in early 2026. At the moment, the frontrunners include Kevin Warsh, a former Fed governor, and Kevin Hassett, director of the National Economic Council at the White House. Much could change between now and the final decision. This chart shows that the Fed expects to only make a few small changes to the federal funds rates in the next few years. Regardless of who the next Fed chair nominee will be, it's likely that the administration will appoint someone inclined to keep policy rates lower. This means that the Fed's projections may shift downward in the coming months. At the same time, it's important not to overreact to a potential shift in policy. While the Fed chair wields influence over policy direction, the committee includes 12 voting members with diverse views. So even a chair aligned with the administration's policy goals will need to sway other committee members with economic and policy arguments. While there will be many more headlines around the Fed leadership in the coming months, what truly matters is the overall path of the economy. We hope you found these insights helpful. If you would like to discuss these topics or others in more detail, please don't hesitate to reach out. We look forward to speaking with you soon.